everyone. I'm really very curious. Before we start, I'll just cover a little about what the article is. The article basically scrutinizes the term corporate culture. It is seen to be built upon earlier management theories such as theory Y and the managing factors. The article also draws light, it also indicates on the dark side of corporate culture by drawing attention to the subjugating and totalitarian obligations. So now, basically, the entire article is on culture. So we're going to move ahead and show you a small video clip which would give you a broad idea of what culture is in terms of Spartan culture. From that, I will try and explain how that could be fit into an organization.
When the boy was born, the good Spartans he was inspected. He'd been small and puny, sickly and misshapen, he might be discarded. The time he could stand, he was baptized in the fire of combat. Never to retreat, never to surrender, to let the dead on the battlefield in service to Sparta was the greatest glory he could achieve in his life. It is customary in Sparta. The boy was taken from his mother and plunged into a world of violence. Penetrated by 300 years of Spartan warrior society, to create the finest souls the world has ever known. The Uni, as it's called, forces the boy to fight, starves them, forces them to sin, and if necessary,
a small video clip of 2 minutes. I'm sure you guys have no idea what Spartan culture is. It's pure, it's stuff. So basically, I'll quote a certain line from the video and try and correlate that to the corporate culture. The first, it says, when a new boy is born, he's inspected like all Spartans. If he's small, if he's puny, if he's misshapen, he's discarded. Similarly, in an organization, you have your CVs. They shortlist you based on that. They judge you at the first instance. If you're not good enough, you won't fit the organization. That's our first example. The second one is never to retreat, never to surrender. In service of Sparta is the greatest glory. Which means when you're in an organization, you have to put forth your best. You have to perform. They make you feel like you belong, but at the same time they expect results. One more example that we can quote is it's customary for every boy after a certain age where he's put out to compete and show that he's worth the challenge. The same way in an organization you have your appraisals where you are made, you're judged on your performance, based on that you're evaluated. So if you can find the relation between Spartan culture and an organization culture, we would like to put forth a hypothesis which says that corporate culture breeds conformity and not individuality. With that, I'd like Radhika to continue and explain more on our analysis.
Thank you, Rishubh. So as you saw the video, it's about creating a culture so that you believe that you're part of an organization. So everybody in this room believes that we need to be in an organization that has good culture, but nobody really understands why you need culture in the first place. We believe that creating a community or creating an environment which is good for you to perform well. From an organization point of view, that works perfectly for them because they believe if you make the employee believe that you're working in a great place, then they'll obviously do well for you. But from an individual point of view, are you really giving up all that what you believe in so that you can align yourself with the organization? While this seems a little far-fetched if you look at like employees who have been in a particular organization for over like say 2 decades. You will realize that there's a trace of character which is almost uniform through all of them, and that's inherently characteristic of that company as well. Which means that through these years they're slowly like shaping you with appraisals, with feedback, with lots of like tiny little things telling you how to behave, how to socialize, or how to perform, in what way are you encouraged to do something or not encouraged to do something. All these make sure that you behave and you do things in a particular fashion throughout. So every organization has that, and every organization makes their employees believe that this is the way it has to be done. So now it's like the free market example that we have discussed in class. You believe, and it's common knowledge now, that organizational culture is good for you, but is it really? You're really not thinking about yourself in that. You're always thinking about what the organization thinks of you and how you need to perform to their standards or their appraisals, but not really how you want to be. So just to make sure that you guys understand this whole concept a little better, we thought of something that we all relate to: class participation. So you sit in class, and if you don't want to talk, you're still made to talk because you're penalized if you're not like talking in class. So INC or any other B school in that sense wants people who voice out their opinions, who talk in class, who discuss. But what if you're an introvert and you like to work on your own in your little like space? You're not allowed to do that, right? And in fact, you're not only not allowed to, but you're penalized. You're given less marks because they believe that you're inefficient, which is not fair at all. So if somebody who talks loudly and like extrovertly is obviously better than somebody who's working like internally amongst themselves, which is not fair, right? Continuing this example further, Maharshi would give you something from the industry.
Hey guys, thanks Radhika. So I'm going to be drawing a parallel to an industry that I specifically work in, and I'm sure some of you guys have the opportunity to work in as well over this summer, namely the investment banking industry. Investment banks are widely regarded as having some of the strongest corporate cultures of the firms that typically are recruited out of business schools. In fact, in their interview process, one of the main answers to the question, why do you want to work here, is, well, insert bank here has a phenomenal corporate culture. It's a place that I believe I can see myself thriving. It sounds like a great thing. Everybody wants to work for a company which has a great corporate culture. But there's always a dark side to every single equation. Within my summer in investment banking, the first day I went into work, I wore Hockeys and I wore a button-down shirt. 10 minutes after I arrived, an executive director came up to my desk and whispered in my ear, "You need to start wearing carpet-colored pants." What this was an example of, this was just the first step that I saw down the road towards a culture of conformity and a corporate culture that, while presenting itself as a favorable and beneficial tool that helps improve employee productivity, helps make working a better experience altogether, in actuality tends to breed conformity. For example, one of the main things that my firm was all about was socialization outside of work. They believe that as investment banking is a client-focused business, every single person within investment banking should be very outgoing, should be extroverted, should be able to carry on an interesting conversation at pretty much any hour of the day. As a matter of fact, there was an unwritten rule that in order to advance in investment banking, you needed to know how to wind up down. As a matter of fact, one of my fellow interns who did not consume alcohol was told on numerous occasions by younger analysts that you should really think of starting drinking because that's how you socialize more, and that's how most deals are done here. And yes, while it does sound good that socialization among your coworkers will help you eventually socialize, with your clients and will help you win more business, there are a lot of negatives associated with this as well. What if you don't like drinking alcohol? What if you have a religious complexion against it? It's too bad. It doesn't fit into the culture here. You're out. Investment banking in general is a bit of an extreme example. There tends to be a larger emphasis on corporate culture than a number of other industries. Of course, a lot of companies do discuss how important corporate culture is. Investment banking is a bit of an extreme example, but it's a very relevant one because it showcases exactly what a company can potentially do to help inform an employee's behavior into a certain dictated line of thought. Eventually, every single person in an investment bank will talk and behave the exact same way. Everybody's seen those stereotypical YouTube videos of bankers talking and sounding alike. This is one very clear example of a phenomenon and our hypothesis that Radhika brought up, namely that corporate culture leads to conformity. If we want to take this one step further as well, we can also take a look at the fact that we can also take a look at the fact of when corporate cultures become so rampant that they in fact lead to the downfall of the entire company. We can take a look at the example of, say, Enron, in which there's a corporate culture of always making sure that you get ahead, always making sure that each employee works constantly to bring in more revenue to the firm. This corporate culture was taken as such an example that employees started committing fraud to the point where the entire company ended up bankrupt. Rishubh has begun by showing you an example of the Spartan culture and how managerial culture associates with that. Radhika has taken this one step further, has talked about ideology, has discussed our hypothesis. And we've proven our hypothesis through two key examples, namely past participation and investment. Thank you for your time.